This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC on location, BCS Championship, Houston, talking with Alexa. We're going to bKYND. We're going to get kids into exercise and youth programs and learn how to start winning early in life. Coming from Nashville, Alexa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
Awesome. So, you're originally from Missouri, as you said, now in Nashville. Talk about what brought you to dedicate your life's mission here to the youth of America, which desperately needs you. So thank you up front.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like in a way, I always kind of knew that this is where I'd end up. I didn't know how, but I knew growing up that I wanted to work in health and wellness. I've been a runner my entire life, literally as long as I can remember. I can't remember a time when I wasn't running. And having that kind of outlet growing up really helped me to manage the basic in and outs of growing up and being a teenager, but then also it helped me through my struggles with anxiety and depression in high school as well. So I always kind of knew that I wanted to give back to youth and help others, kind of find that same passion for fitness and wellness that I did, because it has just a huge impact, a huge difference on all the different aspects of health and well-being. At bKYND, we like to talk about a holistic wellness model, which includes physical, mental, social, and emotional health and well-being, and how all of those kind of tie together. Gotcha. So it really stems from my own personal experience.
Yeah, so we came up with the term HALO, Health, Active, Lifestyle, Outdoors. We were grappling with saying that we were health and wellness bankers or advisors.
Yeah.
And I looked up the word wellness. There was a guy at the Mayo Clinic back in the 1950s, and he was trying to come up with the opposite of illness. So he came up with wellness. So if you're not sick, you're okay. So by the time we're done with this podcast, we're going to have you fully embrace the HALO term, as you are a HALO evangelist and you just didn't know it yet. So, I remember back to high school, and I tell the story that the ice cream truck used to go by my house. My dad had a little change drawer, and I used to go in there and I used to buy like Fun Dip and candy cigarettes and, Twizzler bars and M&Ms and put them under my radiator, and then eat those before I went to sleep. And then, got a little bit chubby as a kid. And definitely I came with a lot of anxiety. I played goalie in soccer for the sole reason because I didn't want to have to run. And I got good at it, so I stayed in that position. But, as you see what's happened, with childhood diabetes, kids not eating healthy, where do you think where are you kind of anchoring to? Are you anchoring yourself directly towards like what would be like the phys ed programs and kind of repackaging those? Is it, an augmentation of those? Talk about how you're getting those into the schools and what the receptivity of that is.
Yeah, for sure. So we definitely take a little bit of a more unique approach than your typical kind of physical education class. We do kind of cater to student athletes, but we also cater to those students who don't play sports, the ones who aren't the most athletic, the ones who hate running and, just want to kind of find something for them that they still enjoy doing. I'm a big advocate for everybody has a type of physical activity that they're going to like doing. For me, it was running. I know that's not the most popular option out there, but some students enjoy, playing outside. That's still a form of being active. Some of them do like sports. Some of them get their physical activity in just, dancing with their siblings or their friends at home. So we really try to cater to a wide range of students and teach those different health and wellness principles from a more holistic perspective. So being active and being healthy doesn't mean that you're going out and running 5 miles before school each day. And it doesn't mean that you never have sweets or your favorite candies. It means that you're practicing balance across all aspects of your life. So since that is kind of, our main foundation of what we build all of our curriculum on, we're a little bit different than just phys ed. For each of our programming classes, we combine group-based physical activity with coach-guided group discussion on those different health and wellness topics. So one day we'll talk about, why it is important to eat balanced and eat vegetables, but then the next day we'll talk about, good strategies for stress management, how to solve problems with friends, really that wide range of all things health and wellness that they're not learning about in gym class. They don't have health classes. And when it does come to gym, these kids have PE for, half an hour once a week these days.
Oh, really?
So really just trying to bring those resources. Yeah.
So, as you think about the health club industry, group exercise has been pretty prolific, I'd say, for the last 30 years, starting with just aerobics classes and, the step and then moving into, more sophisticated, whether it's Les Mills is one of the groups that does it, and Body Pump. Talk about how you train, either the instructors that are then training people downstream, or are you actually taking people that are already in the school as teachers and kind of certifying them and being kind, if you will?
Yeah, for sure. So currently, it's not the teachers in the schools. It's honestly mostly college students and kind of local universities who have a passion for fitness and also have a passion for working with students. It's really the intersection of both of those things that makes a good Be Kind coach. A lot of our programming is really dependent on the energy of those coaches. We teach ages K through 12. So you really got to have that enthusiasm and then also that, ability to be flexible and be able to make changes on the spot and work with the students. Because our main objective is to make sure that they have a good experience, those early life experiences, hopefully positive experiences with physical activity are what really are going to shape their habits for the rest of their life.
Got it. So talk about how many schools you're in, how many students are onboarded, and have you and how you started building this out? Has it all been kind of regional based and kind of moved from there?
Yeah, for sure. I'm very happy to talk about this because we're at a very exciting time right now. So, we originally launched our on site programming. So, we sell directly to the schools our kind of packages of up to 15 classes. We started that last spring. We were in 3 schools here in the Metro Nashville Public School District, which is, I believe, in the top 20 largest in the nation. But we were in 3 last spring. We were in 8 this past fall. And then this spring, we're going to be in 25 to 30. We actually have our first one starting today. Each class, or I guess each kind of school, takes up to 30 students. So I'll let you do the math there. It's been a while since I've had a math class, but definitely, getting up into the thousands of students at this point, which is, very exciting.
And do the kids sign up for this? Or is it optional? Is it mandatory as part of a current class that's going on?
Mm-hmm. So it really depends on the school. At some of the schools, we have a set group of students that we work with each time. If they have, for example, a segment of students where it's like they believe that these students could really benefit from our programming, we might work with them or even with a kind of set team, like a sports team who wants to kind of supplement their training. At other sites, we're in that after-school programming space where the students and their families do kind of sign up for that programming, and then they come to us on that regular basis.
When you say come to us, is there a location, or say come to you in a spot that you designated in the community?
Mm-hmm. So we do all on-site programming. We go into the schools. So I mostly just mean, walk into the gym to meet with us after school. But one of the huge benefits of our model of doing that on-site programming is it takes out that huge barrier of transportation for these students and families. Additionally, with these schools paying for the programming, it's all free to those families who, otherwise wouldn't be able to afford it. One thing that we are starting this semester is we're doing a lot more family engagement, providing the parents of students who are in our programming with additional resources so that they can learn those lessons at home and then continue to kind of iterate that so the students, better establish those habits.
So let me ask you a question about, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs that are listening to this. We've got a lot of people that are starting new businesses. The sales cycle of getting into any kind of, whether it's a health insurance company, whether it's any kind of bureaucratic, or government agency or school or school district, is typically probably the largest sales cycle or the longest sales cycle you could have. Just given kind of playing like, that arcade game, like I'm thinking the, bumper. What am I thinking? I'm thinking of the
pinball.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like you get bounced around a lot. Yeah. And you kind of like say like, all right, I'm just trying to provide you guys programming. This isn't that sophisticated. Obviously exercise and nutrition are pretty well established at this point. Why does it take this long to get approval? So how has that sales cycle been for you? How have you kind of thought about the company from a standpoint of like, hey, we just made contact with this school district. When do we think they were actually going to onboard them? Talk about maybe how you're running and understanding how long it's going to take to run a race or, 26 miles. Like, okay, start the ticker now because we're not onboarding them, anytime this year. So what has been your experience with that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely been a unique and enlightening and sometimes difficult experience
Right.
working with public school districts. The what I will say is that the first one is always the hardest, and it's all about who you know. So once we got that first warm intro into a school, from there, we were able to obtain all kind of necessary credentials, insurance, background checks in order to be able to provide our programming. But once we are an approved vendor within a school district, it's really just about, reaching out to schools, letting them know who we are, and then seeing if there is space to bring our programming to their students.
What's
So the
the
first one's
monthly?
always the hardest.
Yeah, what's the monthly cost per school per month to be on the program?
For this, what do we charge the schools for the program?
Yeah.
So we charge $525 per class. It's charged on a per class basis. One thing, probably one of our biggest accomplishments to date, is that last May we were actually awarded a 5-year contract with the school district. So the individual schools have access to that kind of bucket of money. So if we are bringing our programming to their site, they just request the funds from that contract that we were awarded.
And that's $525 not per day,
per 1 hour class.
Per 1 hour class. That's a pretty high number.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. How many students are in that class on average?
So we take up to 30 students, and that really breaks down. Again, I'm not going to do the mental math right here, but I think around 12 to 15 per student per class. Yeah. And within that class, we provide 2 coaches who are all fully certified. We bring all of our equipment, including yoga mats and resistance bands, and then each of the students gets a notebook. We kind of swag them out with a little bKYND backpack and water bottle too. So the breakdown is, I think, around that 12 to 15 mark per student.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I wouldn't have suspected it would be at that in that zip code. So that's great, and I'm glad that they see the value to the point that they're paying for it. When you say the contract that you're under, just so I understand this, are you saying that there's been funds allocated from the school district for this program based on a certain amount of classes? Basically, like they're pre-approving a certain amount of classes at 525?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there is a set number, $750,000 spread over the next 5 years that we've been awarded. And again, schools can kind of tap into that money as we bring our programming to them. So it's kind of a set amount there for the 5-year period.
That's amazing. So from a standpoint of being able to communicate with students, and I'm just thinking about this from a health club type of model or boutique fitness model, are you allowed to communicate with the kids directly through email, or is there, they're a student, they're, under 18, therefore, you have to only communicate with them in person, or how does that work?
Yeah, so currently we only communicate with our students in person because, again, we do ages K through 12, but we communicate with the parents through email. We have a kind of online adjacent course that the parents are invited to join, which basically goes through the curriculum at the same pace as their students. So they're able to view those same resources that the students are receiving, look at, continuing discussion questions at home, as well as join our larger kind of online community of parents.
Interesting. From a standpoint of schools, how many schools have you had? I'm getting on fire right now. So let's just keep going with this. I like this.
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's just say there was an outside party, let's say Nike or Adidas or Microsoft. And they said, hey, I love what you're doing. This is right in line with our mission. We'll pay for the class. Could we have the trainers wear our gear? Could there be signs up that say, this is bKYND sponsored by Nike or sponsored by Adidas? Is there anything in your contracts that prohibit you from doing that?
Off the top of my head, I'm going to say no, but that's kind of a bridge that I feel like we'll cross once we get there. If, Nike comes to us tomorrow and is asking that, we'll definitely have to do a little bit of due diligence.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, firmly say if Nike's listening that we can't do that.
Got it. That's super interesting. When you take a look at presenting this, is there anyone that you're really competing with? Because I feel like most of the programming goes into commercial locations. And, the first frontier would be, let's just go into health clubs and license our programming The second would be let's go into YMCA, JCC. And then the third bucket I feel like is people that are used to be personal trainers or group fitness instructors, and they're kind of basically trying to create their own like outdoor, group programming and have people come direct. So how are you finding that? I feel like you're the first one to really say like, okay, I'm going to go into school districts. I'm going to bite the bullet on how long it's going to take. Once I get the first account, we'll kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I'm not sure if there's a question there, but just make an answer up.
I think the question I'm going to answer is about like competitors that are out there. So our handful of main kind of differentiating factors are that we provide our programming on site. It's completely free to the students and parents. We have a holistic wellness approach. We're not just a sports team. We also talk about mental, social, emotional health. And then we are also paid through school contracts. So those are kind of our three main differentiators. And when we look at competition, the YMCA, they have some after school programs, but one, they're off-site. Two, they come at a cost to parents. And then three, a lot of organizations these days, whether it's the Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA, are kind of just like glorified babysitters. Whereas we're really, investing in the students, engaging with the families, and trying to, elevate their overall health and wellness rather than just, act as supervision as they play outside or something. So we really try to take that, the programming with the students kind of to that next level. And that's kind of where we pull a lot of inspiration from the, boutique fitness models. Like we don't have health clubs right now, but we pull a lot of those principles when it comes to the environment that we create, the community that we build between these students, and then those additional resources that we provide to their families.
Yes. From a standpoint of how you built the company, you'll talk about what the team you have in place and, what role you personally take in that. Obviously any entrepreneur, you're doing everything and anything that needs to happen. But how do you think about as you grow and get a big contract like this, how do you differentiate and say, okay, here's the role that I'm going to play. Here's my co-founders and here's my other employees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in terms of the kind of structure of the company right now, Bradley Davis is our founder and CEO. He's also my fiance. I am our director of programming, and currently it's only us two that are full-time employees. We're bringing on 2 additional full-time employees this quarter that will be on the sales and marketing side. And then other than that, all of our coaches are contracted 1099 employees. So they are mostly college or, recently graduated students who are looking for part-time work and are also passionate about fitness and working with students. So they're able to take on anywhere from, 2 classes to 8 classes a week, depending on their schedule and what they're looking for, since they are contracted.
Got it. There's definitely many entrepreneurs that are couples and they enter into a business. There's a guy in the industry. His name's Caleb Owen, who does a lot of work in the health club space with boutique gyms called Gym Launch, and he does a lot of videos of talking about him and his wife working together. How have you, from a personal standpoint, if you could share, kind of how do you turn it on and off? Like, is there, business is like 100%, the light's always on. But are you able to kind of say, okay, we're not talking about business on Saturday or Sunday, or it's kind of just flows and you just let it flow?
Yeah, it really just flows and we let it flow. I mean, I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the entire world. I have the best job in the entire world. I have the best partner in the entire world.
That's great.
And I really am just so passionate about what we're doing, as is Bradley, that there's no real reason to be like, oh, it's, before 8 a.m., we're not talking about work.
Right.
It's just so kind of ingrained in our lives at this point, which, one thing that I kind of advocate for, people talk about work-life balance. I like to talk about work-life integration, because the idea is that you are doing something that, is so in line with your values and your passion that there's no need for that on switch, off switch. It's just kind of a natural part of your day-to-day life.
So what are some of the things here before we close out that are, aha moments, or, there was a class and somebody said something, or there was a result, or there was a kid who said, I don't think I could do this. I could do this now. What are some of like those anecdotal things that you say, wow, I didn't know that could happen?
Yeah. I love this question, and I have a great answer for it. So I love talking about
Oh,
this stuff.
sweet. All right, good.
We had a group of middle school boys that we were working with at one of our schools last semester. And at the beginning of our programming, we always start with kind of, easy topics. What does it mean to be active? How do you like to move? What are your favorite foods? How do those fit into the food groups? But as we move through the weeks that we're meeting with these students, we start to talk about those deeper topics like mental health and, communication. And I remember, one day we were kind of making that transition from physical activity to our coach guided group discussion. And this group of middle school boys were like getting started ahead of time. They were sitting around in a circle by themselves and talking about how they'd been managing their stress recently and how they'd been implementing the strategies that we'd been using and if they'd been working and making recommendations to each other. And it's just, in what other environment are you going to see a group of middle school boys sitting around and talking about their feelings?
Right.
And so it was just really cool to see kind of the impact of, the work that we were doing. Another quick anecdote with that same group, it was our last day of programming, and we were sitting down for that group discussion, and a couple of them had their phones out. I'm like, boys, you got to put your phones away. They're like, well, it's the last day of programming, so we're exchanging phone numbers so that we can stay in touch. And they'd never met each other before the programming start, but with the community that we built with them, it just really helped them form those connections.
That's amazing. All right, well, tell Bradley we appreciate him and you bringing this into the youth. I feel like everything starts at the bottom, and if you can get these kids to start to create the right habits, know that they have a social environment and a place that's safe, I think they actually influence their parents to eat better, and they influence them to lose weight. And I think that's probably something that's not talked about enough. Mm-hmm. Is that if they say we're not eating McDonald's tonight, like I want you to like grill some vegetables for me, that changes everything. So appreciate what you're doing. Love to be collaborating with you in the future. Some of these big partnerships, I think there's going to be opportunities once you get into the schools and get established that others are going to want to say, hey, I want to fund that. And that might be one of the prohibitors to go in mainstream. Some school districts just don't have that kind of money that they can allocate. But it sounds like you're going to knock these down and get the results, and take it from there. So you are now officially the Hilo Youth Evangelist Movement. Tell you and Bradley, we'll get you guys some shirts, and we'll send you some books on Time to Win Again, which is all about sports and business and running that like a sports team, which sounds like you guys are doing already.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.